bring to your attention that you are allowed to camp according to current county policy and ordinance for 3 days within a 90-day period at any of our properties. These properties include our parks, they include our boat landings, and county-owned properties open to the public. So for example, someone could actually set a tent up outside of the Government and Justice Building and camp for 3 days the way the ordinance is currently written. This is posing some challenges to us and why we're bringing this up from a Parks and Recreation perspective. Just to give you an overview as well, we have 28 boat landings in our park system. We have 31 parks. That's 59 places just within our Parks and Recreation Department where individuals can camp for up to 3 days. It is currently prohibited at the Rosewood Boat Landing. We're bringing this up today because we are having a number of challenges and concerns, and I'm going to have Deputy Chief Wyatt speak to some of those as well here in just a moment. But a couple things just to bring to your attention. It's currently inconsistent with our park rules. Our signage states that our parks are open dawn to dusk, yet if you're camping overnight, that's not necessarily dawn to dusk. The enforcement piece is certainly become a challenge to both Parks and Recreation and the Police Department as to how long are people actually camping there, and then what are they doing during those times. Now, the ordinance is pretty clear and has a number of items that they shouldn't do, but it's the enforcement piece of this that becomes a challenge. Additionally, our parks are not actually equipped for camping. We don't have the running water. We don't have a dump station. We don't have electric. And many of them don't have bathrooms or even a porta-john. So we're not necessarily equipped as campgrounds per se to have camping there. So this creates some issues with trash, human waste, vandalism, loud music. Guns of interest on this particular ordinance, you can actually shoot firearms at our boat landings if it's in a safe manner, which I'm not sure we want to be doing within our current ordinance. Talks about alcohol. It also addresses, or we've had issues with homelessness, which is determining how long somebody has actually been there. A recent with some new playgrounds, and we had this recently happen at Loris, the proximity to playgrounds. We had an individual who was camping there in close proximity, and it was creating a situation in which the general public was concerned about those individuals camping and their children, as well as fires. We've had shelters that have been burned, picnic tables that have been burned, etc. So with some of those challenges, I'd like to invite Deputy Chief Wyatt up here to share some of his perspective from the policing standpoint of it.
Thank you, Ray. Good morning. I'd like to echo a lot of what Ray has said out here, is that on the enforcement side of it, it is very difficult to enforce the 3-day rule. We don't really have knowledge of how long someone has been there. There's no way for us to track it back. If there is a piece of a car and someone's sleeping in their car and they say the magic words that, hey, I'm camping, well, then we can't do anything with them. It's hard for us to move them along because there's no definition of what camping truly is in the ordinance. So we have an issue with the homelessness about coming and just hanging out for 3 days, or they hang out for 2 days. We tell them, hey, you need to be gone by the 3rd day. We may not get to them by the 3rd. It might be the 4th day before we can get back out to them. But then they move and go to another landing or another park outside of that one particular officer's jurisdiction that we're unaware of, and the clock starts again. So theoretically, we could be chasing the individuals around that are doing bad deeds around county properties for months on end before we start piecing it together because of the transient nature of what we're dealing with. Along with that, it's hard for us at 2 o'clock in the morning to confirm whether someone has permission to be there or not. Normally, because the signs say dawn to dusk, we can run people off at dusk if they're still on county property at the parks or at the landings. But once again, they say the magic words that I'm camping, then we pretty much have to leave them and let them do, because we cannot stay there with them the entirety that they're there. So that's the enforcement challenges that the police department sees, especially midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, when we get the calls that they're being that are there, that is suspicious in nature. Now, if they're doing something out of the way, loud, boisterous, something along those lines, are all laws that we can enforce at that point in time. But if they're just there, there is very little that we can do on a regular basis at the parks or the boat landings. We also have the abandoned vehicle issues. where someone comes and leaves the vehicle. At that point in time, it's on the county to decide when to tow it. We could give them 3 days. We could give them 48 hours. There's no set time frame of saying how long a vehicle can sit on county property before we decide to remove it, because it is a county-owned, maintained piece of property. The one at the Loris Park mentioned earlier was a camper that was actually stolen, but because it was in Loris City's jurisdiction, we didn't determine it was stolen for 2 weeks-ish. About 2 weeks we dealt with that camper before we determined that it was actually stolen, had been reported stolen, and then we seized it based on stolen property at that point in time. But until that happened, it sat on the property and made it very uncomfortable for the kids and the parents of the playground right next to where it was sitting. Up until that point in time, we were able to get it removed. Any questions on the law enforcement side? Yes, sir.
Do you already got your ordinance written up? How about an hour after dusk?
We have a couple of options that I'd like to present and get some feedback on.
Cool. Thank you.
So a couple of options for discussion to get your feedback on is, one, do we do away with the ordinance as it currently written? So there is no camping on county property, whether that's boat landings, parks, or county-owned property that's open to the public. So that's option number one for consideration. Another one is no action, just simply leave it as is, and we leave the ordinance alone. We don't do anything with it. Option number three is to amend the ordinance and possibly allow for the boat landings for campings to occur there, but eliminate the parks and the county-owned property open to the public. Another option is to create a permit process and a fee for better enforcement. So someone would need to come to probably Park and Recreation would be the most logical choice, get a permit, get a fee. At that point, we know that they're supposed to be there for a period of time. Again, though, we're not necessarily equipped as campgrounds. The other one is to designate just certain sites for camping and not necessarily blanket for all of them. And then I'm open to other discussions or feedback. So from a staff perspective, wanted to share this. We wanted to look to you for your feedback and your guidance as to help us how to move forward with this and what you would like to see moving forward.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think we need to move fast because I had no idea, and I don't think most people did, know that you could camp in most of these places legally. Certainly didn't know you could shoot guns. You can't fish or swim off the boat ramps or docks, but you can shoot guns. I think it's a terrible thing, but the next thing, if we ban camping completely, what happens with boaters that leave their boats all night? Will that be an issue, that go down the river and actually camp downriver or anything like that? I mean, we need.
So I think if there was my first thought of that is if there was a trailer that was attached to the vehicle, then that would be acceptable. They're not actually camping at that point, but if there's a trailer attached, I wouldn't see a problem with that.
We probably got only a few places. How about like Peachtree? Do you have any issues down there? I know that's a place that people probably like to camp.
Yes, sir. Peachtree is known more for the abandoned vehicles. People will abandon vehicles most of the time they are stolen down at Peachtree. It's rather secluded at night. As far as the actual camping, a lot of those come at Pitch Landing, Hughes Landing. Those landings are where we get the majority of those complaints. For the actual camping, it was Peachtree until the ordinance was revised, I believe it was last year, stopping that. But Hughes and Pitch for the camping has been the bigger problem. The parking or the abandoned vehicles come more into play on Peachtree and Enterprise.
Bunch Bowl, that's really one I was thinking
Bunch
about.
Bowl also with the camping, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do we have tag readers? If me and Mark go down to Punch Bowl this afternoon, is tag reader gonna pick us up?
We do not have tag readers at the current landings. We do have, some landings are equipped with Meraki cameras, but not all of them, but not tag readers, no, sir.
David, are we insured to allow people to camp? Are we responsible once we say you can camp?
I would say we're generally insured for most all of our activities, but I don't think that's a specific coverage that we have. 'Cause I'm not.
Yeah, in general, we would be. I'm not aware of specific. We can look into that.
I think we should move forward with.
Mike?
To what extent is this a problem? I mean,
what's happening with it, that, you know, obviously we're here discussing it, so there's some issue, but on a scale of 1 to 10, is this bad? You know, what,
As far as the police perspective is concerned, it's never a problem until it is. In general terms, most days, no, it's not a problem. But on any given day, like the Dolores Park incident, it become a problem relatively quickly, and the citizens expect us to resolve it quickly so that they feel safe while they're at our parks and our boat landings. Because of break-ins and other things, they just don't want strange people hanging around. So once again, it's not a everyday problem, but when it is a problem, it's a consistent problem until we figure out some way to resolve the situation.
I would say in recent, it's probably been every 3 weeks or so that we're reaching out to the police department to help us solve an issue.
well, what I heard brought up twice is that the way that it's currently written, the ordinance, somebody says camping, and so it sounds to me that instead of getting rid of the whole opportunity for people to use our facilities, maybe rewrite this ordinance that will give your people the ability to take action, and so it's very defined on what they can do and what they can't, and if they're not meeting that. So it sounds like a relatively easy fix. Write it so you have the ability to enforce it, and then kind of go from there.
Absolutely is a possibility.
If I could speak to that, the ordinance actually has a number of items in it related to enforceability, such as fires and alcohol, some of those things that were mentioned. It's the actual enforcement piece of when it becomes an issue, then trying to enforce that and the issues and challenges that they run into when they have that. So the ordinance actually has some of those mechanisms in place, prohibiting certain behaviors there. It's the enforceability side of it. It's hard for our parks staff. They're not out there on a daily basis. We have different staff like they do with patrols, dumping the trash, et cetera. And so that becomes the challenge with the behavior that is happening out there and what we find, whether there's fires, whether there's trash, whether there's human waste that's being left behind, or whether there's abandoned vehicles. All these things are issues that we've encountered since I've been here, so they continue to happen. So there are some mechanisms in place. Not sure that would necessarily solve it. But
Mark?
we can look into it.
I think we got probably very few boat landings that are suitable for people to camp, and maybe it might be Punch Bowl is one of them, maybe. But again, you're leaving a lot of debris behind from fires. But again, I don't think most people are even aware that it's legal, and I think we need to move. In my opinion, we need to ban it from happening. Red Bluff, I mean, we don't have places to park vehicles down, boat trailers and all now to get in. Most of the time, if you're out there early on a Saturday or Sunday, you're just out of luck. But if we're gonna move in that direction, now that we've opened it up to people know about it, we probably need to start moving quick on making the changes.
How about we do away with the ordinance, just throwing a flag up here, do away with the ordinance, and then let staff work with public safety, and you come back to us with a better set of rules, because I'm gonna hold you responsible, and I'm gonna hold you responsible. So I need you something that you can work with and you can work with. And I'm hating for a couple of people that might be good people, but I see more bad guys taking advantage of this than the good guys, so.
Do you want to allow it on a limited basis?
No,
or
sir, I'm
don't
getting
want
shut her
that?
down tonight, but I think we need to wait for council to go in on that. The guns, just like Mark, alarm me, and then if a car is down there and it doesn't have a boat trailer, well, maybe, I don't know how to, I hate to harass people, but if you're just dropping cars off there, we don't need that. And so I ask you to come up with a better plan.
Yeah, we do.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward as a.
Well, this is just for discussion. Maybe they'll put something together and bring it to council as a resolution, and then we can approve it and send it to council. I don't think we really can shut it down tonight.
Well, I know that, but I was just saying, do we need to do it as a,
Yeah, I think you
endorsing
can direct them.
endorsing staff to
Yeah,
get it to council?
absolutely.
soon?
Yeah.
For chatting Deputy Chief Wyatt,
Yes, sir.
of the landings, how many would you say really are good or suitable for camping?
Other than Punch Bowl, there may be pitch landing, so maybe 2 or 3 would be truly suitable.
Out of those are 28?
I'm sorry, sir?
Out of how many you said was 20?
So maybe 5, maybe 5 out of 28, maybe suitable. And when we say suitable, it's relatively speaking. Even those that have a little bit extra land where it can actually be done without interrupting people loading or unloading the boats, then you run into the idea of where does the human waste go? That is another issue at those landings because not all of them have restroom facilities. So maybe 5 landings. Ray, would you testify accurate?
Well, I could concur with Mark and Tom that maybe it's just better to just stop it all together, be done with it.
So you're kind of directing them to put something together. Yeah.
Sooner than later.
Yeah.
And my concern is like at pitch landing, if somebody goes down and pops a tent up, you got all these people that are paying healthy taxes on their beautiful waterfront homes, and they don't know who just popped the tent up. And they look at it and it's a Nevada tag or Massachusetts tag or somewhere, but we don't know who they are. And it'd be different if we had a reservation system, but I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in the county getting in the camping business. I wouldn't want my children playing in the yard in my tax-paying home.
Randy?
So I know y'all been talking about boat landings and parks, but what about the rest of the county property? Do you want us to
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
No,
eliminate that as
no
well?
question on that.
We do that? Okay. I just want to make sure we're catching all of them.
One other thing real quick. Like at Red Bluff, people park the cars. Of course, we do have some car parking there, and they walk down the river and camp, around the curve on that big sandbar. Would that eliminate that? How would you, is that something may need to address that we want to? They're on actually private property at that point.
That's more of a state issue than a county issue.
So we're going, if they want to do that, we're going to allow that. They can leave the car and camp down the river just like the boaters would do.
I think it comes back to the vehicle and how do we want to monitor the vehicle staying overnight at the facilities. I know before we mentioned if they had a trailer attached or if they had racks for kayaks or something like that versus just a car that didn't have any of that apparel with it.
I think that would be a totality of the circumstances type of situation that we would look at case-by-case basis. If a car is there and it is obviously derelict or stolen, when our officers go down there and respond, then we would take care of it then and there with the appropriate rules set up through Parks and Recs. If in fact it looks like it's possibly somebody that has walked down around the bend and is camping, we could give it 48 hours and see if there's any activity, see if it's been moved, see if something has been changed. We can do that before we just immediately go down there, oh, it's not here, let's tow it off. So that would be some Parks and Recs rules that we would have to work out the details of how that would look or how that would work.
There's a lot of people that do that at Red Bluff and O'Reilly's, I think, and they fish from the bank, but they camp on that big sandbar. So
You could put a red tag on it like the highway patrol does.
Correct, we could actually come up with a tagging system.
I don't know anybody, except for Bill Howard, that doesn't have the capability of taking a picture and sending a text. And in my mind, I'm not telling you to do this, but maybe, big sign at every property. If you're gonna be here at 30 minutes after dusk, you need to text a picture of your tag and your vehicle, so somebody a police officer ultimately could pull it up and see that Tom's 02 Silverado with tag number DRG is at that, because me and Mark went fishing and Mark picked me up from another landing, but he picked me up at landing and my truck's there. That way when the county police pull up, they can see when Ray's going down to just check something out, he could pull it up on the app and actually see the person, if the vehicle's there. If the tag is not registered, that vehicle gets a free ride on the back of a tow truck.
Let's have something we can work out on the back end as far as the administrative procedures.
Just an idea, because we have so much immediate information now. Anyway, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ray. And Ray, you're up again for the update regarding the Myrtle Beach Area Mountain Bike Association agreement.
Yes, I'd like to give an update regarding the Myrtle Beach Area Mountain Bike Association agreement. They're currently known as MBA 2. I've invited Chris McCarty, the president of MBA 2, to be here, so he may, if you'd like to come on up here, give you a little bit of background here. So February 19th, we entered via resolution an agreement with the NBA2 to help build and maintain the bike and run park, known as the Hull. In April of '24, that agreement was updated, so a little over a year ago it was updated. However, since my time here, the club, and I'll let Chris talk a little bit about this, has had a high turnover. So Chris is the third president in less than a year and a half with the club. There's a lack of unity and cohesion within the membership of NBA2. And it has had a shortfall of volunteers showing up to help on the trail work days and actually help maintain the park in the way I believe it was originally visioned. I've reached out many times and worked with NBA2 over the past year and a half or so, and have had these discussions, and at this point it's actually having a negative, detrimental impact on the trail. Chris, if you'd like to.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris McCarty, president of NBA2. Just as a brief history of myself, I'm a fireman for North Myrtle Beach, used to be with the county. I've been with the park for almost 2 years on the board. I've been going there for 5, and we've seen the consistent issue of volunteers and then drama. So with how we run the park, I've really enjoyed working with Horry County Parks and Rec. They've been great. Everything I've thrown at them, they've either approved it or said, no, let's redo it. So that's worked out really well. The problem is there's no other parks in our area or really on the East Coast that run like we do. They don't have a board that maintains and or runs the park. So with us being a club, we have no enforcement of how stuff is done. That's Horry County side. The only thing I could do is tell people, hey, don't go in there with a rake, don't go in there with a shovel. I can't do anything else past that. So then that becomes a big issue on Horry County side. They have to come in and try to chase these people, and it's kind of like how you're dealing with these cars and stuff. It's just following rules. I can't enforce the rules that I wish I could. So I think the best thing would be is to follow some of these other parks and how they're run, and Ray's going to kind of mention how that's going to happen.
So typically what happens is the landowner, and we are the landowner, actually sets the direction for the park and for the maintenance of the park and the upkeep of it. What happened in the original agreement basically empowered NBA2 to set that tone with what was actually built out there and how it's maintained. That's where I have concerns and issues, is the club is struggling to maintain that. So in knowing that, and in seeing and witnessing some of these issues over the past year and a half, what we have done is we've sent 2 of our staff to go ahead and get certified in trail building and trail maintenance. So we did that earlier this year. That's under a group known as SORBA, the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, and they fall under the IMBA, the International Mountain Bike Association guidelines. So they have been trained to those standards. They know how to build trails and how to maintain trails. My recommendation and update is that we not renew the agreement with NBA2, and that we take over the responsibility of the maintenance and the upkeep of the park and whatever is built for new features or designs. We still need to work with NBA2. They have volunteers. It would be nice to be able to reach out to those volunteers, have them help us on trail maintenance days, but we would be the ones, and our staff would be the ones that actually lead the trail maintenance, guide them through that process of what we're working on and how it's to be constructed, built, or repaired. So really, it's just a shift of who actually has the vision and direction for the maintenance and upkeep of that park. Currently, NBA2 is the ones that are at the pointy end of maintaining that. I'm saying that when we not renew that agreement, we become the entity that does it, and NBA2 supports us through their volunteerism. A couple of things here. We do have a 90-day notice that we would give them. There is a meeting scheduled with NBA2 tonight to discuss this at length. There's also a amendment to that agreement, if they're amenable to it, that would waive that 90 days, so we would actually be able to take ownership or control of that sooner. My fear is that if we leave it out there for 90 days, everyone will simply back away and the park maintenance of it will continue to go down and be at a standard that no one's happy with. So I don't want to see that happen. So I'd rather us be in a position to be able to step in there and have that transition be sooner than later. And I think Chris is probably okay with that, but that'll be discussed with the board tonight. So that's the direction and the update that we would like to go on a staff level. The last thing I'd like to touch on with that is the name, the Hulk, is actually a trademark name through Marvel Inc. And I know of no record or permissions of us being actually allowed to use that trademark name. And so I do have some concerns because sometimes these things come to the surface and they sort of blindside us. But that name is not trademark, but we don't have permission to use it. If you actually go out there and look at the park, it's known as the Horry County Bike and Run Park. It's known as the Carolina Forest Horry County Bike and Run Park. And it's also known as the Hulk. And then we have a skills section which is known as the Little Hulk. My recommendation is that we do not continue to use the term the Hulk without trademark permissions. And honestly, I don't want to go trying to chase trademark permissions. I'd like to just simply refer to it as the Bike and Run Park, which is already on some of our signage.
I have one question. Have you consulted with your budget to be able to afford to maintain that? Is that?
Mr. Gilworth asked the same question. I think back in 2019, I would say no, we did not have the capacity at that time to pick that up. Since then, we have been adding some staff into the Park and Recreation budget. It will be a challenge, I won't lie to you. But staff is up for that challenge and feels that we can take this on and do that and have scheduled, organized trail maintenance days and put that on a schedule that currently doesn't exist.
You gonna ask David for little pieces of equipment every once in a while?
We may.
Robert's got everything he needs.
I said I'd make it work.
Make it work.
Thank you.
So I did want to just provide an update as to where we're going with the NBA2 agreement. Is there any
Sounds
questions?
great.
Or
Sounds great.
Do you want a motion on this, or you want?
No, it's
No, it's
just
just an
up for
update.
discussion.
For discussion.
Yeah.
Appreciate the,
Hard work they
appreciate the
do.
great work, and if you can keep the good ones you want to keep to help volunteer, whatever, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love that volunteer help.
Yep.
When it works, it works, because,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of good guys that are willing to be out there, but
Yeah.
it's one person that ruins that good group of people.
Yep.
And this will stop that.
Now, is that park a walk, run, and bike park?
Yes.
That's-
Yes, you can walk out there.
Yeah.
People frequently do.
Yeah, I've had to yell out a few times, coming up behind you.
Yeah, so, and that's a big thing I've had to battle with, like the signage. When I first came in, I took signage and I slammed it as hard as I could, and I redid everything. And you can put as many signs out there as you want.
They don't
People don't read them, especially when they're doing this
Yeah.
or they ride a bike. So,
Yeah.
but yes, it is run backwards, bike forward. So they should be going in opposite directions to see oncoming traffic.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Ray.
Great job.
And next is the tow truck ordinance. Justin, tell us all about it.
Several council members, meetings ago, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, during public input, couple tow companies came and asked for a ordinance change. So I'm here just to give an overview of where we're at, and I'm looking for direction from council as to where to go. Currently, the ordinance, I believe, has not really been touched in about 10 years or so. I believe that's about the time frame when it was put into place. It does not allow for any tow companies to come into Horry County and operate without having a storage lot inside of Horry County, which sounds good. However, the problem occurs is that we've got tow companies in Georgetown County in Murrells Inlet, and somebody that lives in Murrells Inlet's car breaks down, say in Myrtle Beach. Well, they call their local tow company, but they're out of Georgetown. Technically, they're in violation of law because they don't have a yard inside of Horry County. They're taking it back to either a dealership or a mechanic outside of Horry County. So that was challenge number one. Challenge number two is the amount of insurance that we require does not coincide with what the state requires. The state does not have a minimum amount of insurance for a tow company to operate, other than the fact that they have insurance, just like any other motor vehicle. based upon the type of vehicle it is. Horry County's law says if you are a tow company, then you have to have $300,000 of liability, and Horry County must be named as a co-insurer, which also adds to the amount that they have to pay if they were to get a license. And that is irrelevant whether or not they're actually doing business with Horry County or not. Even the companies that are not on the record rotation or not doing business with the county are required to have Horry County as the co-insured partner. And that is the pushback we're getting from those tow companies across the county lines, both in Marion, Georgetown, Williamsburg, and such. On the other side of it, the local tow companies that are within Horry County, they have some strong feelings about that as well, that they pay Horry County taxes and that they should have the rights to be the only ones to tow within Horry County. So those are the two opposing sides. There's positives and negatives for going in any direction on this, but we're looking for direction as far as how you'd like us to proceed, if at all.
I think, hold on one second, Tom.
Go ahead.
I outrank you today?
Yes, you do. Always.
No, no. I agree with, you touched on this, that the tow trucks in Horry County, we need to protect them first because this is Horry County. The ones outside of Horry County that want to tow in Horry County would have to, like you said, have a yard and have the insurance. And so they're doing the same thing we're doing, but we've got to protect our locals that live and pay taxes, like you say, in Horry County. That's my thought, you know, to go forward with new rules or whatever you're going to do. They show that we care about our people, you know. Yeah. All right, Tom.
Mine wasn't as long-winded.
I know.
We work for the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And the taxpayers pay taxes in Horry County. And at the same time, if you can come up with a plan, I can sympathize somebody living right on the other side of 701, the river, and coming to pick up a truck or something, a car. And I'm not worried about them, I'm worried about somebody nefarious.
So there is yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
Well, I think that we look at it consensual versus the opposite of consensual towing. If my car breaks down in Myrtle Beach and I live in Burroughs Inlet, I should be able to call my local guy who is across the county line to come get it. But if I park illegally and they call the rotation for a tow that it's not consensual, then out-of-county people should not be on the rotation.
Right, that's
Well, and we could
with the county, that's rotation, right?
Yeah.
Private, you can call anyone you want. I
Well,
mean, we can't
I
say.
think that's a problem right now.
correct. So
I think they
there,
want to fix the ordinance where you can call privately and get somebody else to do it.
correct. So there's one of the options that we have, and you're correct, is that the whole purpose of this ordinance when it was
Can you say that
originally
again
created.
for Bill and make sure you heard that?
The whole purpose of the ordinance, to my understanding, when it was passed, was to stop predatory towing, the non-consensual towing, specifically at paid lots and at hotels and motels, was the whole intent of the ordinance when it was originally created, to stop the predatory towing because we had no control over it. We could edit or look at going into the ordinance and adding disclaimers for non-consensual towing versus consensual towing. And you could even go to look at, you as a personal owner, you can call to have your car towed. The only challenge to that, and it would be a challenge, is your AAA or your AARP or those motor clubs. The outside entities that want to come into Horry County technically would still be consensual, but it would be under the guise of a AAA or another third-party motor club to tow, and it would be undercutting the local tow companies. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible to do a workaround in the law. I'd probably talk to county legal as far as how that would look, but those are the challenges that we're facing with doing anything with the tow ordinance as it sits.
Most of the time, those AAA, USAA type people, they use the local talent.
Most of the time, yes, sir.
Mikey.
So, let's say we have somebody from Georgetown that's up here spending money at one of our businesses, whatever it is, and they're paying taxes, and they do break down. And tow company gets sent from North Myrtle Beach. And then they've got to go to Georgetown, and then they're going back to their facility in North Myrtle Beach. What are they going to charge by the mile, or how do they charge versus if these people were able to call somebody that's where they're from, it doesn't have to make that extra 30-mile drive? Is there a difference in that rate that these people are having to pay?
So because it's a consensual towing, the rate is set between a negotiation between the person getting the vehicle towed and the company. The only time that we, as a county, gets involved with the actual rates or with the non-consensuals, and we do cap that at whatever the state level is, so that people are not subject to the predatory towing practices that you see in some communities.
Okay. I would have to think it's common sense, if somebody is coming from North Myrtle Beach and has to drive to Georgetown, that rate's most likely going to be significantly higher.
Correct.
Than if they're.
And that's where the motor clubs like the AAAs and stuff come in. A lot of people use those, or, dealerships have pre-contracts saying, well, if you buy from us and your car breaks down, we'll tow it at no charge back to our location. So that's where the third party comes into play that makes it a little bit more confusing when talking about tow ordinances. The police department's involvement is the regulation of the non-consensual towing. So it kind of falls into the police department, but it kind of doesn't. It's once brought to INR. And it may end up going back to public safety. But altogether, the police department, what we try to regulate is the non-consensual portion of it. It's just that the consensual portion is under the same law, and that's how we kind of got to where we're at.
I think it might be maybe in the best interest of the public to have an option. Maybe what we do is just don't open it up, but figure out, okay, how many of these companies would be necessary to fulfill the needs, and then send out to all of them, hey, we've got 4 slots, let's just say, that's going to be open. Mail in your application. Some of them might not be interested in really being a regular part of that, and then we have some type of requirement. Okay, if you want to be one of those 4, here's going to be your requirements, and if they so decide to pay those fees or whatever they are, that's up to them.
Mr. Chairman, hold on, I'd follow up on that. I would say that, could we look at the people that are not on rotation, they just have a regular tow business, and you call them up and it's a contractual type arrangement? Could we let them get the state-approved insurance as opposed to the rotation insurance that we require, the high rate for $300,000?
It is my understanding that is one of Mr. Allen's, when he initially asked me to look into it, that was one of his primary concerns, was doing away with the extra insurance requirement for those that are having a contractual agreement between the tower and the towee versus the non-consensual or the police rotation. Aside from that, we are very happy with the ordinance as it sits for non-consensual, and as far as police rotation, we think that ordinance is well wrote for those specifics. It's the other side of the ordinance that may need some tweaking.
Mark, you have?
So you're saying if I get in a wreck and I want to call someone from Marion Body Shop, legally they can't come pull my car in if I call them?
Correct.
Yeah,
Right now they
we
cannot.
need to change that. The rotation, I say keep it, but I think you should be allowed to call who you want to come. If that's going to be your repair.
The
wreck.
consensual.
Yes.
Hold on, lawyer time.
Gary?
If I live in Pawleys Island, I come up here to Surfside, my car breaks down, I need it towed back to Pawleys, can I call a Georgetown Towing Company in Pawleys to come get it?
Right now would be a violation of the ordinance.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's why we need to change the consensual.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, for a consensual tow, if they don't have a storage lot, so if you're having it towed to Coastal Cadillac or wherever, the Pawleys Island dealership, that is fine if they have a business license with Horry County.
If they do.
If they have, and they can get a business license without the storage lot. What we've run into with those gentlemen that were at county council is their insurance is not as high as what we require. And we require that higher insurance based on the rotational. So do we want to lower the insurance requirement for consensual towing? Which we don't have any liability in the game, or we shouldn't, on consensual towing.
To that end, we would also want to talk about the requirements. So we have to inspect every single truck. We would want to basically stop if they're not working for Horry County, we'd want to stop the inspection, because if they're outside of Horry County, technically we still, like your Marion County company, technically we still have to go and inspect them. And that's what the other part of it that doesn't make a lot of sense. If it's a consensual tow.
Okay, so you have a team put together to try and put
Yes, sir.
this resolution together, so y'all work on that?
Yes, sir.
Bring it back to us?
Not a problem.
Okay. Whoops, hold on a second.
You want to
Randy?
come here or to public safety? Does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. Yeah,
I don't care.
yeah.
You care?
Could you have it ready by 11 o'clock?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we're gonna go into resolutions. First one is a resolution to accept the roads and drainage in the following subdivisions in Horry County Maintenance System. David, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The following have been designed and built, found to meet county standards, and we recommend that you would accept them from the staff level into your maintenance network, and they are Auburn Woods Phase 1, Buckeye Forest Phase 2, Ivy Woods, Lock Haven Phase 4A, 4B, and Phase 5, Shaftesbury Green Phase 6, Tallwood, Traditions Phase 1A and 1B, and Woodcrest.
Okay, David, under one condition,
Yes, sir.
you bring us a chart that you've done before with the knowledge on that chart that cost of asphalt and road base is going up, going way up, because I don't know if you've used the old theory, the old rule, cost of living, cost of increase of materials. We need to change that.
We've been increasing with as our costs go up, those prices have gone up.
I'm talking huge. We can't get a contractor to do the work, much less the materials. So add that in too. Could the next meeting bring back that beautiful chart you always do?
Yes, I can do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
How old are these roads?
These are brand new ones.
These typically should all be
Okay.
less than a year.
I just want to make sure none of them were 25 years old, and then we get what Bill was saying. We know sooner take it in and we've got to redo it.
Typically, when those older subdivisions come in, we require them to be resurfaced before we take them.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? So moved. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, the next one, don't go anywhere, David. Resolution to transfer up to $45 million from revenues collected in excess of those required for completion of Ride 2, capital project sales tax, projects to the Ride 4 transportation sales tax fund for the purpose of expediting the design, permitting, and construction of the Ride 4 project list. Do I have a motion?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? David, I have some questions on that, if you'll just explain briefly. This is coming out of monies that we've held, and are the lawsuits settled on the contractors of Ride 2, or do we have some idea when the land bank's going to be putting their money back into Ride 2? All these, and when would this money come back?
So this portion of it's a fairly simple question. What we have to do when we sign a contract, before we sign a contract, we have to have the money to complete that contract in hand or have access to it secured through a bond or what have you. So in order to sign the contracts that we have to sign to begin the design and permitting of all of these Ride 4 projects, which is about $2.4 billion worth of work that we're starting the design for, we have to have access to the funds to sign those contracts. So typically, I say typically, in the past when we've done this, we did the same for Ride 2, for Ride 3 from Ride 2, just like we're doing today. We needed those funds just like we do today. I think we asked for $40 million, if I recall, and I think ultimately there was only a temporary transfer of about 30,000, I think Barry said. So there's no, we may not even actually transfer this money. We just need the ability to transfer it if we need that, funding to get this started, because we're gonna start signing contracts, and Department of Revenue is already collecting the funds. We don't have those funds in hand yet, because they come 2 to 3 months after they've been collected. So we're gonna start signing contracts in August. That's about the time we'll start to get some of it, but that first contract could be more than the first month of collection. So this is just a just in case. I've got a forecast spreadsheet that shows we'll probably need this money or access to this money up and through maybe April or May of next year. We've asked in here, there's a requirement that this is limited to no longer than 2 years, that the funds have to be returned back to RIDE 2. So it is temporary, and that is baked into the resolution. So it is just to give us the ability to sign contracts early. Before we have the RIDE 4 funds in hand.
Right.
It will allow us to accelerate a lot of these projects.
All right, thank you.
I think it's a great move, get it moving, get these projects moving.
I'm just so glad we've had the people in accounting and all that with Horry County that so frugal with these monies that we still have them, and we're able to do these things in advance. Most counties don't have that ability, and I appreciate the people that work up in the accounting and all the departments and everybody, all the hard workers. Thank you, thank you. Okay, the resolution C, declaring the intent by Horry County, South Carolina to reimburse certain expenditures made prior to the issuance of federally tax exempt general airport revenue bonds. All right, Virginia?
And y'all were good on, I don't think you voted on the transfer for the 45 million.
We did.
They did.
Yes. I did it before I asked the question.
Keep me straight.
The airport requests that the county council approve a reimbursement resolution which will provide the airport the option to reimburse the current use of airport reserves or other funds for the runway reconstruction capital project with the issuance of short-term or long-term bonds in the future. This resolution is required under IRS regulations. Although the project will not start for another 5 months, we are encouraged by our financial advisor to adopt a reimbursement resolution before spending any money on this project from the airport's general fund to maintain flexibility. A future debt issuance for the airport, if any, will remain subject to the approval of county council. The reimbursement resolution was approved by our airport financial advisor and bond counsel and is presented for your consideration.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next resolution, recognizing July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month. Nicole?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I have 2 resolutions before you today. The first one is in accordance with National Parks and Recreation Association, along with many other agencies in the United States to recognize July as Parks and Recreation Month.
I'd like to make a motion, we move forward with staff's recommendation.
Second.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was easy.
Bam.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. A resolution approving the amended bylaws recently adopted by the Parks and Open Space Board.
So in accordance to Ordinance 32-2025, this is realigning our bylaws for the Parks and Open Space Board to coincide the terms with their bylaws.
I'd like to make a motion, we move forward with staff's recommendation.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much.
job. Okay, next resolution is, this is something Al wanted me to do. Is the resolution to express congratulations to the Aner High School Lady Blue Jackets softball team on winning the 2025 SCHSL Class 3A State Championship.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes, and this will be something that Al will present at the council meeting. All right, that's all the ordinances and resolutions. All the attachments are for information only. If anyone has any questions, look in your packet. And any old business, anyone want to talk about Gary? Oh, I mean, any old business.
I got some
old
old business.
Come on, Gary, you can smile. Any old business, anybody?
Just get even.
Get even, all right.
I think I got some old business. I think we got someone that might have a birthday today.
Uh-oh.
Who can it be?
Where's Jordan?
Y'all
Your
always like
birthday?
meetings on my birthday.
Happy birthday. We're not gonna sing you happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's old business.
Happy birthday, that's old business. Yeah,
Can I borrow your?
great. How old are you, David?
45.
Huh?
There you go.
45.
45. I thought you said 25. I was gonna call you a liar. All right, well, congratulations. Okay, no executive session today. The announcements, next meeting date will be August 12th, 2025, and we adjourn. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.